Good morning, Mountain Christian Church family. Today's Sunday, June 14th, and today our lesson comes to us from Exodus chapter 1 and chapter 2. There are two stories that we're going to hear about today. The first story is about the Hebrews and slavery, and the second is about the birth of Moses. Before I forget, if you are interested in coloring pages that go along with today's story, have your parents print you out some pages. Here are a couple that we've already done for the day. This one, as you will see, is a river. There's a basket in the river. What's inside that basket? Who can tell me? There may or may not be a baby in that basket. Here's another page we've done. Whoops, let's turn it the right way. And yes, indeed, there is a baby in that basket. Who knows who that baby is? We're going to find out right now. All right. Well, for many weeks, God's been teaching us through the book of Genesis. And Genesis is, as you know, the book of beginnings. We've learned about the beginning of many things. God promised to make Abraham's family a great nation. He promised to bless the whole world through Abraham. This week we start a new book, the book of Exodus. Exodus is the next part of God's plan, if you want to think of it that way. In Exodus, God makes his own special nation. We will start with the lesson of slavery of the Hebrew people. We have already learned that God made Joseph a great ruler of Egypt. Joseph invited his brothers and family and friends to live with him in Egypt. This group of people were called the Hebrews, or there's another name for them. Who knows that name? That is right, the Israelites. The Israelites did go and live in Egypt with Joseph. And they multiplied. They had large families. They grew. And Egypt became filled with Israelites. Then a new king came to order. The king didn't know Joseph. Look, he said to his people, the Israelites have become too numerous for us. Come, we must deal with them, or they will become even more numerous. And if war breaks out, we'll join our enemies, fight against us, and leave the country. Well, the king didn't want that. So they put slave masters over the Israelites and forced them to work. They built Pithom and Ramesses as towns for the Pharaoh. But the more they were oppressed, the more the people multiplied. And the Egyptians came to dread the Israelites and worked them ruthlessly. They put them to work. They made them build houses and do all sorts of labor. The king of Egypt said to the women who helped deliver babies, who are called, midwives, they help deliver babies. If you see that a baby is born and that it's a boy, then that baby is to be killed. The girls can live, but the boys must die. Wow. This leads us to our next story, which is the birth of Moses. And I thought what we would do for this part of the story telling is read from the Bible. Do you and your family have Bibles that you read from? Do you have special Bibles? We have a few, and this is the one I picked for us today. It's the Children's Bible. And this has been in our family a long time. As a matter of fact, I read from it when I was a child. But as we know, God's word is true, and it doesn't matter how old it is. The stories are still the same, and they're very truthful. So let's read about the birth of Moses today. All right, so now there was a man of the family of Levi whose wife bore him a son. And when she saw that he was godly, that he was a good, healthy child, she hid him for 3 months. Then, when she could no longer hide him, she took a basket made of bulrushes, daubed it with pitch, and threw the child into it. So basically, it's a basket. And she put some cloth in there and put baby Moses in the basket. She took it and laid it in the reeds by the river's edge, and the baby's sister stood far away to watch what was done to him. The daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river, and her maids walked along by the river's side. When she saw the basket among the reeds, she sent her maids to fetch it. When she opened the basket, she saw the child, and he was crying. So she took pity on him and said, "This is one of the Hebrews' children." The baby's sister came forward and said to Pharaoh's daughter, "Shall I go and find a nurse from the Hebrew women to look after the child for you?" "Go," said Pharaoh's daughter, and the girl went and called the child's mother. The Pharaoh's daughter said to the woman, "Take this child away and nurse it for me, and I will give you your wages." So the mother took her child and nursed it. And the child grew, and his mother brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. which means drawn out. Moses is the name of the son, and the name of Moses means drawn out. She said, I drew him out of the water. Here's a picture of what this looks like in the book. So there's the river, and there's baby Moses. All right, let's continue. One day when Moses grew up, he went out among his kinsmen and watched them labor, and he saw an Egyptian striking a Hebrew, one of his kinsmen. He looked this way and that way. When he saw that there was no one near, he killed the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. When he went out the next day, he saw two Hebrew men fighting each other. He said to one who was in the wrong, Why are you striking your own comrade? The man replied, Who made you a prince and judge over us? Do you intend to kill me as you killed the Egyptian? And Moses was afraid and said to himself, What I have done must be known. When Pharaoh heard of this, he tried to kill Moses. But Moses escaped from Pharaoh and went to live in the land of Midian. There one day he sat down beside a well. Now the priest of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came and drew water from the well and filled the troughs to water their father's flock of their flock. The shepherds came and tried to drive them away, but Moses stood up and helped them and watered their flock. When they came home to their father, he said, How is it that you have come back so early? And they answered, An Egyptian protected us from the shepherds and also drew enough water for us and watered the flock. Where is he? Their father asked. Why have you left the man behind? Call him to eat with us. Moses was happy to live with this man, and the man gave Moses his daughter to be his wife. Her name is Zipporah. And Zipporah bore Moses a son, and he called him Gershom, which means a stranger there. So he said, I have been a stranger in a strange land. And here's a picture so far of what you see going on in the story. All right, just a couple more minutes. And in due course it came to pass that the king of Egypt died, but the children of Israel were still oppressed and in slavery. In their suffering they cried out, and their cry carried up to God. He heard their groaning and remembered his promise to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. And the Lord looked down upon the children of Israel and had pity on them. Well, that is the story for today. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you have a blessed day with your family. Bye, friends.